a brother or whether you're a mother, you're staying alive, staying alive. Feel the city breaking and everybody shaking, and we're staying alive, staying alive.
All right, this is Staying Alive, and I'm Louie J. Thanks so much for joining me today. I'm excited to be back. We are in the seat. We are recording podcast, and we had a small little break there, but it's good to get back.
I know. It's been way too long. Obviously, not a lot of people might know or will know that we were shut down for quite some time, and we just thought it was the best thing to probably not get together. I mean, I miss this place, man. I can't tell you. I was in here earlier today doing a voice record with a friend of yours who was on the podcast too. He's doing his audiobook, JT Wahlberg.
Yes.
And to spend a whole day in this place is kind of cool, man. There's nobody else in here, which is unfortunate, but we're getting close. I guess you're getting close to opening up soon. We don't know exactly yet, but.
Well, with any hope, I mean, that's part of the plan. But about this place, man, I'll tell you, when building this out and taking it from its early inception, like when, you couldn't even see what this layout looked like, I had this vision of if I was to spend days on end at work, doing something, what would that look like and what would make me feel more comfortable? And every single piece of wood that went on this wall, every single stain drop that went on the floor, to the stone that's on the fireplace, it had all of that in mind. Like, what's this going to feel like when it all comes together? So I'm like, man, when you hear somebody say that they love it as much as I do, then you've got something special. It does feel a lot like a cabin in the woods in a lot of respects. And knowing very well that a busy lakeshore is right out there with tons of traffic going by, it's almost like this little refuge that we all can pull ourselves away to.
Oh, yeah, and you could tell even like I see when you're posting stuff on social media and a mention of we'll be back, and the people that write back to you, it's like all about coming back into cabin. They just can't wait. It's pretty wild, man. Yeah,
it is wild. I know that we've, I think when we used to keep track of the numbers, like when we had hit 10,000 visitors that came through the door, those were milestone moments. And as I recall, it hit me how many people had felt, so strongly about the environment and how that made them feel that they went out of their way to comment. And they did that on social media, and they did that in the product reviews or the company reviews, and it made me recognize that, environment is huge. And when you create all the right moving pieces, when you put service, environment, look, feel, even the smell, the sound all together, you recognize that you are making a lasting impression. And when people go out of their way unsolicited to tell you what that felt like, then you've got something really special. So
that's pretty cool. Not the same topic, but I mean, we've been ordering food once a week to try and support local businesses during the shutdown. And somebody had mentioned this Chinese restaurant very close to our house. I've driven by there a gazillion times, but I'm like, no, never bothered. So went in there. This place was massive, and the decor and everything, it was amazing. I'm like, oh man, like I could see myself coming here, but unfortunately there's no dine-in service right now, just takeout. But still, like, it really, as soon as you walk through the doors, you're taken, into this feeling, and it was like, okay, I can see ourselves once this crap is over with, dining here, because it seems like it would be a really cool experience.
That's what I love about some of the byproducts of being locked in, shut down, closed, is that you get a chance to explore things that you may not have normally, or you look for things that aren't in your direct path, and finding those unique places to support. To your point, I mean, we're doing the same thing whenever we can for takeout to support the local restaurants. We're finding that we're finding new little hotspots.
Yeah.
And even to that point, they're becoming better service providers than maybe what we had first experienced when we went there live, when you went there in person. And now they've kind of got their niche, and they're serving out good quality food, and they've kind of overturned the challenges of being takeout only, which I think is awesome.
I think before the pandemic, people were just going through the motions.
I think a lot of were, yeah.
And I find now when you're interacting with any kind of business or anything such as restaurants, the take. It just seems everything is heightened in terms of not just service, but just attitude. Everything has changed to a level where it's so personable now.
Yeah, I think, I was thinking about this actually, 9/11, in a lot of respects, going back to that moment, that uncertainty, and that it really ended up creating this humanized approach. Like I would go to New York all the time before 9/11, and there was always moments where you're like, oh, that was a New York moment where somebody was just, treated you like an ass or said something, or their response wasn't kind.
Yeah.
And then 9/11 hit, and every visit that I had afterwards, I found that there was this humanity, this, this casualness where it didn't exist before. It changed everybody's approach and their perspective, and it became a little more friendly. It became kind, and it felt like it was more inviting and just warm. It just felt like it was. It kind of it dropped its edge, and in a lot of respects, I think that this whole challenge that we've faced as small businesses or just communities in general ended up changing the way we look at things. And so I think as a small business, at least I can speak for myself and some of the people that I know that own businesses, we appreciate more now than we ever have. The fact that you choose to do business with our business means a lot more. It's no longer taken for granted.
Right. And
that I think has
I don't think the people were really thinking in their attitudes over just taking things for granted. It just felt that way because it was the same day over again, right? Every day was the same day, and you're trucking along. Next thing you know, a couple of years go by. But now it just seems everything's heightened.
Everything's heightened. Well, I think that you don't know how much you miss something until it's not there. And that, I think, has a lot to do with how we, as business owners, kind of are left to look at what's out there and how we're approaching business. I know that, you become more grateful and you recognize those little things that didn't necessarily mean so much before now mean a lot. And so the review online, the phone call, even somebody picking up something curbside, and I can hear the compliment in the background about, when you guys did this, it was my favorite part of, last year. I loved, and hearing that and recognizing that had an impact enough to say that they wanted to make sure that we knew about it.
Yeah.
That's very cool, man. I think there's some, good learnings, as I've said all the way through all this, the silver linings and the good learnings are definitely something that, we can't take for granted.
Yeah. It kind of feels like there's this energy about that things are just ending soon. It's very weird. Like people I don't hear people talking about it too much, but it just seems like just the way that people are carrying themselves now. It's like, there's an end in sight.
Yes.
And we couldn't get there any quicker.
We couldn't get there any quicker. The fact is that, evidenced by what I post on social and how people respond to it, I could put a very important, political comment out there. I could put something that's, social, economic, whatever. It could be something that could really make a difference in a lot of people's lives, and the tolerance for that, I think, is diminished.
Yes.
Where there's no longer an interest. We listen to our neighbors to the south talk about politics for years, and we just kind of
5 years.
We sat by and we watched, and it was like the train crash or the car crash, and you couldn't keep your eyes off of it. And then I think we just got so filled with it that it became something that we wanted less and less of. And as I recognize now, if I'm comparing those posts, one being, very important, and you need to help and support, and, we can all band together, and you put that out there, and you've got 34 likes, maybe 5 comments, and you're like, wow, that really kind of fell short of even what I expected. I expected the community to rally behind it.
Yeah.
And then, I make a comment like, as soon as all this is over, I'm going to host the biggest dance party you've ever seen, with upwards of 500 views and 190 comments. And it just that's important right now.
It is.
I want to look forward to something. And I think your point about we're all feeling like it's coming to an end, I think we're so hopeful
Yeah.
that it doesn't matter whatever is really happening out there, unless of course it goes completely south and we take 10 steps back.
Right.
We're ready and prepared and willing and to say, like, I need to fix whatever I can in my little camp to make sure I can go and do everything that I wanted to do. Like, whether that means, yes, I'm prepared to do this, and this. I don't care what it is, but I got to get back into the land of the living. I think a lot of people feel the same way. Some that, have very little respect for the rules of the protocol. I'm being encouraged all the time to simply open shop. Like, don't worry about it. There's other people that are opening, regardless of the restrictions and the enforcement and the fines and the bylaw. They're just saying open. There's going to be so many people that'll support you. Just do what you know is right. You kept everybody safe in your environments, Except, I haven't got to that point yet where my threshold is diminished and I need to make a stand. But I don't know how much further I do have before I get there. I just saw, for this business anyway, I saw a barbershop post online today, like, this is where I'm going to be. I have 5 locations and we are going to be cutting hair today and we're fully booked. And
wow.
that's pre opening. So that's pre regulation opening where they can come back into being safely operational, and they're saying that, listen, we're doing this safe. The difference is that I'm wearing a mask, the customer's wearing the mask, we're doing temperature checks, we're doing hand sanitization, and he's listing what it is they're going to be doing, and then he makes a point saying much different than people that are cutting hair in their basement.
Right.
Much different than people that are cutting hair in the backyard or the garage, which they are doing, and with no regulation. So I'd rather be safe than sorry.
Or, I know the big cry is about the big box store, and it's legitimate, but they're not practicing anything.
No.
At least, listen, I haven't been into a store in 9 months, so I can't really say, but you could see people post pictures, lineups at Costco when they're checking out. They're not even 3 feet apart, let alone 6 feet apart. And it's like, okay, but if you're going to keep the place open, at least practice some of the measures. No.
Yes.
And one of the things that really irked me is that my dentist is trying to book me an appointment for a cleaning. And I'm like, really? Seriously? I mean, you're in the belly of the beast. You're in my mouth.
Right.
And your mask and your shield is better than your barber's mask and shield? I don't understand.
Right.
And you're trying to get me in for a cleaning? I can understand if I had like a root canal or a cavity or something that's got to get yanked immediately.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But for a cleaning? You're trying to get me into your facility for a cleaning? Is it really that necessary to put myself and yourself at risk like that? And then I can't come here to get a haircut.
Yeah,
even though you're following the same, or even your measures were even hot,
Oh, for sure, our measures were higher. There was no
temperature
question.
check. You walk in, temperature, sanitize, boom. Put your, you don't come in. There's nobody else in here other than the barber and you. And then, anyways, it's frustrating. We're here, and hopefully we'll be out of it soon.
Let's all hope for that. I mean, I think it's the fatigue that people talk about for being on Zoom is one thing, but the COVID conversation fatigue is just, at some point you're like, my gosh, what did we talk about beforehand, and what can we talk about after? Yeah. There's always going to be a tie-in and a tie-back. I know that for sure, because that's just, it's not unlike the weather. It's the common thread, and it's got everybody doing something. So now I've got a relationship with everybody outside of the weather. Number one talked about topic in the world is the weather, and I think second to that has got to be COVID.
Yeah.
Third to that is coffee.
Coffee talk,
something like that. Anyway, yeah. Well, I mean, but you said you haven't been to a store in 9 months. I mean, what's that look like for you and the family? Is that like you've divided the labor? You guys are kind of taking your own time. Like, what is it?
We've always been a divide and conquer family, or parental units. We have 4 kids, so not one person is overloaded with all the tasks. Let's just say it's split up, and we help out everywhere we can. But I mean, we figured there's grocery gateway or whatever services there is. So in terms of groceries, it gets delivered to us.
Right.
Everything else has been curbside pickup. If there's anything I'm doing in at the house, Home Depot, order it. A couple days later, go pick it up.
Go pick it up.
The best one was IKEA, though. I'm putting a vanity in in my basement bathroom, and my wife ordered the vanity she liked. It was brilliant. Just pulled up, quick phone call, and in 2 minutes, and I mean there was 50 cars parked in spots, and in 2 minutes it was in my trunk. I'm like, this is the best. I'll never want to go into.
Well, that's the thing.
Look, I know they work really hard to get you to walk through the entire facility. I'm going to take my sweater off. I'm dying here.
Yeah, you bet.
But, you know, and for some people, they really like that, to be able to window shop or walk through it. Kids love it. You know what I mean? But for me, I'm a type of guy, when I go shopping, it's like I go in, get what I need, and I'm out of there. I don't need to muck around and shop around or anything. I need this. Let's go. So that was awesome, that experience. We went to the Burlington one because the one in Etobicoke was
still
closed.
locked down?
Yeah.
So you're a region hopper.
Well, we stayed in our car.
Well, you know, it's funny, though, because there's a couple of things, more than a couple. I just, off the top of my head right now, I think of a couple. One of them being the convenience that's been presented to us for the likes of curbside pickup.
Mm-hmm.
So is this a moving forward?
I love it.
So do I. I mean, I'm telling you, I'm very much like you. I do enjoy a good shop every now and then where I need to be inspired and I need to see something.
Yes.
I like what they've done from a merchandising standpoint. And quite frankly, there's some stores that I will go out of my way to go into because they've done such an incredible job of creating that visual experience that, you know, I'm very much connected to. All Saints, for some reason, comes to mind for that. Their stores are beautiful, and it's almost like you're going into museum type environments where you're like, I need to see this because they've built it and it's so good, and I get very excited for that, like what they've done from a layout. But the convenience of serving a guy like me that knows what I want, or I could figure out quickly online, or with an incredible return policy, I don't have to worry about that anymore, and I can go make an order a day later, 2 days later, pull up, have somebody there, bring it out to me. That's a moving forward service offering that I don't think I could live without anymore.
Yeah.
You know, and so I'm looking forward to seeing how businesses push that back into their new operational strategy, their model, you know, and does it come at a premium? I know there's already a premium charge for some grocery stores that are doing click and pick, but it's worth it.
Yeah. Well, there's an interesting thing that I've been seeing lately in my feeds about ghost kitchens. Have you heard about that phenomenon?
I'm not sure what it is, but what is the deal?
Okay, I was supposed to sit down last night and read this article because I finally, what the hell is this? Like, I've heard it mentioned in several interviews and headlines in some of my feeds and some of the articles. Like I go to Dig a lot and Reddit and stuff like that. And the ghost kitchen is like this facility, obviously a kitchen, that will make, it's primarily for pickup or takeout. So you can order Taco Bell or Pizza Hut or Thai Palace or whatever it is, and in that same kitchen, they'll make all those recipes. So rather than going to each individual franchise, like Taco Bell will like say, we're going to be part of this ghost kitchen, so that it's a lot more accessible to people. So if your nearest franchise that's your favorite, like a Kentucky Fried Chicken, is 20 kilometers away, and this ghost kitchen is, 5 kilometers away, you place the order like you would anywhere else, and it's made there instead of.
Whoa. Okay, hold on a
minute.
I know. So
I think I'm getting it right. I might be fucking this whole thing up.
You might be wrong.
Right? But from what, I got to look it up.
So are they making the recipe, like the Kentucky Fried Chicken recipe?
Yes. So basically.
But multiple recipes in one location. And so how does that benefit me? Just the convenience
of it. And for the stakeholders, it's like, well, we can have it all roll out of this one kind of thing now. So we don't have to brick and mortar. And with all the signage, it's just coming out of there. So the Uber guys come in, or the skip the dishes or whatever, they come and pick it. It's interesting how that whole, the restaurant business is swift with pivot, man. They were so swift doing this whole thing that it's still evolving.
Yes, I think swift is interesting because I don't know that they knew exactly what they were doing other than survival mode.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, they became a model in itself to say, this is how we're going to treat this. And this wasn't a bad idea. Of course they took a beating, but what they were able to salvage quickly was pretty impressive.
But just think how many restaurants that didn't have the web presence. Everybody has a website, but
Yes.
the presence to order online, order through whatever the case may be, Uber, Skip the Dishes, or whatever it is. They had to quickly have that set up and ready to go. And I mean, that's what's keeping them open.
Yeah, so it's so interesting. Ghost kitchens that I have to look into as well.
Yeah.
I mean, really, it's not for us. It's just for the convenience of the third-party delivery companies. They're now going to be able to centralize a satellite pickup or satellite location, pick up from there, and then move it to your houses.
Yeah.
Interesting. And then not burden the brick and mortar shop that they have.
Yeah, but what does that mean? Does that mean less franchises are being sold? Like it's interesting how this is going to go forward. I think obviously convenience is the big motivator here for how businesses are going to move forward, right? Like, I mean, after we've experienced what we have, it's like, I prefer that. Early in the pandemic, when I went to the grocery store and God, there was a lineup to get in, a lineup to check out, and then once you're through the queue, you're with the checkout person and there's nobody around you. I love that. Mm-hmm. I love that there's nobody else around you,
standing
like
behind you,
burning your ankles with their cart when you're trying to pay with your credit card or whatever. It's like it felt civilized, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, this is nice. And I would always ask the cashiers, like, you know, so how you liking this? And they're like, oh, it's a lot nicer, you know. It doesn't feel like when it's busy, it's always steady. It's not overwhelming because they're managing the amount of people coming in. Yeah, pretty cool.
That's interesting. I mean, some of the other pieces that came to mind that I don't know I could live without anymore. We subscribed to a food service, like a Good Food or Fresh or whatever those ones are called, Made Good or something. In any case, recommended from a friend. Of course, they've done a great job marketing so that the referral programs are really strong, which is a great business tactic at any given day. But it did what it was supposed to do. Our friends commented socially. You know, we're on a Zoom call and they're making, you know, the Thai, whatever that meal was. And it was, oh, this sounds really good. Where did you order from? And then you recognize that they got a chance to cook. The cool thing is that you can treat those services in whatever way suits you or your family. If you've got kids, it was a good opportunity to have the kids take on a meal. And so now it's kind of like, you know, a night off for mom and dad where we didn't have to cook. They would prepare a meal, and then that would be an accomplishment and something to celebrate inside the confines of the four walls that, you know, at some point get really tight and close and they close in on you. But at the same time, too, it gave us a chance to experiment with other flavors, the frequency of the orders, the fact that you didn't have to go out and get ingredients, and, you know, whether you're up for the premium that it comes at, or you just equate that to another, you know, experience that you spend money on. A bit of entertainment and a bit of functionality too, right? You got to eat, and let's maybe have some fun cooking. Let's task the kids with it. Let's make it a date night or whatever. I think that those experiences have been well represented and gives us a good chance to look at what we can do differently. And maybe those are some of the things that stay on the plate when everything opens up again. You know, I think it's been a cool way. I mean, what for me personally, I always enjoyed cooking, but I'm beginning to love cooking. You know, I'm learning a lot. I'm trying to take all those little Master Chef moments and put them into play. Also, because I've got an audience now, you know, you're kind of forced to have everybody there. Somebody's not checking out for dinner, and you know they're not there anymore. They have to be there. They can't go anywhere. So you gotta like what I'm making or not. And so far, so good. I think it's been really cool. Have you tried any of the services?
We used to do the Good Food. It was great. Like, it broke it up for us because, I mean, you know, we have our classic dishes that we make on a regular basis. It's a good variety. Yeah, they're good staple. But once in a while, it's like, I don't do enough Asian food. I think I'm a pretty decent cook, but it's like when you don't work with certain flavors and stuff, you know, I always have my go-to, and it was awesome to try it. And you know, I made a lot of notes because it's like I like to do a recipe when I get a new recipe. I'll do it to a T. It's exactly how they believe that this dish should be made, and then after that, tasting it is like, okay, I know how to add my twist onto it. So the next time that I make it, I'll do it from scratch. I won't, because we had the thing where the menu changed all the time when we would order that stuff. So the next week it would be a whole different round of meals, and you'd have to pick from.
Right.
So, but it's like, wait, I like that little noodle dish that I did. I would just go out and buy all the stuff, and then of course have my, pull back a little bit on the lime, a little bit, add this instead, or some heat or whatever. And it was great. It allowed me to kind of expand my repertoire so that, I want to be like my mom. My mom was the best at opening the fridge, whatever was left over. We're talking, to her or to us, it was like she would slap it together, but it was gourmet. It was like, damn, how'd you make this meal out of potato and whatever? Yeah, it was, every day was like that. I mean, she was a master at it.
Yeah, I think it's given us a chance to recognize or at least improve on what we were doing. Everybody seems to have picked up a little culinary interest. The kids are baking regularly, and it's not uncommon now to come downstairs or walk into the kitchen and somebody's behind the counter making something, and that's new. That's really cool. I mean, new in the last 6, 8, 9 months, but it's frequent. That's the other part of it too, right? To the point where my middle daughter Macy insisted to have a chef's apron. So she's, and not just for the sake of having an apron. It's really to protect her clothes. She's particular and wants to cook and not have that. So I think that's really cool. I think there's
did they make the TikTok phenomenon feta pasta with the tomatoes?
Yeah.
Same here. My son, he made that too. I mean, that's fabulous, right? The fact that you're getting the youth to want to try this. Apparently that was like the number one ingredients that were sold for a period of time. Like when we ordered from the store or whatever, like somebody had made a mention like, oh, you guys are making the feta bun? Like
that's mind blowing, because now all of a sudden our common thread is very particular, and this is where social media and business and how to look at social media as a true business. I mean, feta manufacturers from around the world
had no idea this was coming.
Right. They hit a massive spike. They sold out stores across the chains around the world.
Yes.
I think some countries said that they were out of feta. They couldn't get any more. Like, why? Because somebody made it popular on a social media app that a gazillion people see and respond to. And now all of a sudden there's a common thread here again. Have you made the feta pasta? With the tomatoes, and then.
But it's crazy. Yes. I want to really dissect next time I want to really dissect how that video was made and what separates that video from all a million other recipes that I've seen on Facebook, Twitter, whatever it is. You know how they do the quick little thing and you add this and that. Why did that one become the Gangnam Style?
Right.
Of
videos.
Songs on video? Like, how did that one separate? What techniques were they using? What song were they using? Like, what made it so appealing?
I'd love to dig into that too, because you see it happens frequently on that platform. Of course, you recall Ocean Spray had a major uptake because of Dogface, simply, taking a classic Fleetwood Mac song that also exposed that brand and that band to, new heights and new audiences they never would have experienced before. And simply by raising, it could have been anything.
Yes.
It really could have been anything. However, it wasn't.
7-Up, Mountain Dew, anything.
Anything.
Monster Energy
And
drink.
so you take the guy, the performer, the talent in that space. You take the song, you take the activity, and you take that overall appeal, like that general, this guy can connect to anybody.
But the thing was, all those things felt like they didn't belong with each other. Like that dude longboarding, I would have never pictured him doing that.
Right.
Drinking an Ocean Spray versus maybe a Monster Energy. Like, you know what I mean? It just seemed like, what? That song with him?
Yes. And then when you trace it back and find out that it was him, because of course everybody did a duet or they did their own version of it. And then, Fleetwood Mac was being used in everything. My kids know Fleetwood Mac intimately as a result. And maybe they knew it before because I was already pushing Fleetwood Mac on them. But
sure.
The point is that all their friends, they know exactly where that came from.
Yeah.
And their point of reference for Fleetwood Mac is now TikTok, not
Right.
actually the band or the rumors
Yeah.
or anything beforehand. But yeah, getting back to the pasta one, I love the fact that it happened all at once and it was a craze and it was, yeah, well, we got to put that in our regular menu, and then people are all kind of responding in the same way. And to me, that's a really cool thing from a marketing standpoint, because if done well,
Yes.
brands, products, services, with authenticity, okay, in that platform environment, creating content that is not just a matter of like, let me wave my flag over here, my brand flag. Let me not just show this off. Let me do it in a way that's really unique and creative. Let me make sure that I've entertained you, engaged you, and done it in a way that was authentic, so that you see who and what we really are as a brand.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's where magic happens. And you can see content creators now in that platform going out of their way to create TikTok-like content for off-platform, so that you can see in Facebook and Twitter that brands have recognized that the style, the speed, the delivery of content is very appealing. And now there's a whole behavior around when people want to see what you're doing on TikTok, so that they're now approaching their marketing with TikTok in mind.
Right. So I guess the brand managers are actually getting out of their traditional form and taking the risk, because I mean, I think it must be difficult for them to allow themselves to jump into that new way of communicating, but clearly it works. You know what I mean? Like the response is there. So it's like, I used to work at commercials for a long time, and brands would, this is the book. Here's the playbook. We do not go out of there. And it's like you're limiting yourself, in my opinion.
Well, that's what this lesson has been all the way through, that that first of all, you have to recognize that it's ever evolving, and the communication mediums are becoming more sophisticated, and the opportunity for brands to be able to get on there and have a share of voice. Really, if you're going to do it well, you have to do it really well. And you can see where brands are failing there too. Like I've seen, I don't know, it's a board or if it's a organization, but the milk campaign, like dairy milk, dairy farmers, in my opinion, failed miserably. They would have content creators, influencers, take the big drink of milk, have the mustache on, and comment about how nutritious, or they can't even do that anymore. They can't comment on the nutrition values of milk because, in fact, it's not nutritious.
Right.
I mean, so anyway, the point is that they'd have somebody get on there to make a claim, and the claim, of course, has to be substantiated, but it didn't do enough to make people convert to milk, and it looked like it was selling a product, as opposed to me showing you my lifestyle, and this is the byproduct of what that conversation is.
Right.
So I mean, I think it's remarkable. I could dive into that for hours, because I'm so connected to the behavior and the outcomes. I'm watching artists create actual wall art, and being told that their art is garbage and it looks like my 10-year-old could do better, and and then they're selling their piece for tens of thousands of dollars, and it doesn't look like a 10-year-old did it. It's just a matter of the audience that's watching and how they're connected to it, and where they've been given a platform to comment and create, commentary. They do. And I don't know, I find it remarkable. Even to the point now where everybody's talking about, I'm going to forget the name of this, but it's the digital art phenomenon that's happening right now, digitized, where they're selling digital art tokens for ridiculous amounts of money online. What is that called?
I have no idea.
Oh my gosh, it's all around it's right on the tip of my tongue.
We need to hire somebody to do our online searches.
Yes,
Is that the next phase of our podcast?
Somebody could sit right there and take that on. So as a matter of fact, if you're listening today, we're looking for
anybody who likes to work for free.
Yes, to come on and help us get our content in order. anyway, it's remarkable because there's a whole revolution happening again around digital currency, digital art, and the scarcity of that art and how it becomes a valuable commodity right off the bat. Like there's people selling art right now for hundreds of millions. Like,
really?
It's out of control. It's out of control. I don't like that whole GameStop phenomenon. It's like overnight like that. And that's what's happening in the background. And I find like we're in this really cool kind of almost pioneer maverick day again. Like things are really shaken up online and that's trickling down to the real world. People are becoming overnight, financially independent, wealthy.
Yeah.
And, they're 25-year-olds just kind of
taking risks,
doing what they think is right now. I think it's amazing. I'm very excited about today.
I really think that never would have happened had this moment in our life had presented itself.
Yes.
For as tragic as it is, and you know what I mean? Like nobody wants to hear about people dying.
No way.
But for the ones that are still here, it just seemed like it paused a lot, and then there's some folks that took the opportunity to go, I'm pushing this forward now. I'm taking this opportunity to expand, not close. I'm going to expand.
Yes.
I'm going to make this move. I find that like amazing how some people have come to that conclusion. It's like, we're going to sit here and stay isolated? No, I'm going to put my my nose down, figure out what I want to do for the next little bit, and put that in motion and start doing something either completely different or expanding in what I have going on now to help facilitate what I'm doing right now. It's I find those people really fascinating.
Yeah, there's a lot of people to look at and see what they're doing because they either were on track to make it to the next milestone or the benchmark, and then they got the rug pulled out from underneath them, and then they figured out a way to maybe even exceed that milestone, move past it. I would in a lot of respects think that we talked about pivot early on in the podcasts, and those are one of those words that you'll probably be happy you won't have to listen to again as you move forward, only because it's been used so often. But in fact, we had to make a number of changes in the way we operate, not only from Cabin's perspective, but from the other business where we're doing conferences, national meetings, and the likes. That for us, we had to reinvent right away, and we just came off of what seemed like a whirlwind tour. This is national kickoff, season where everybody gets their companies together and tries to connect and make meaningful meetings that actually influence the way that they're going to look at the year. And I've just come off that tour. It was grueling. It was intense. In all due respect, there has to be an understanding that virtual and moving into this new space requires so much more effort than doing it live.
You know what a good example was? Did you see the Golden Globes last night?
I didn't.
Terrible.
Was it?
I thought it was.
I don't know. I've not heard anything.
It was bumpy, man.
Oh, was it? Well, that's good news.
And I was thinking of you because it's like, how many shows have you done? You're probably so dialed in now that you know what the hiccups are. You know what, there's a lot to manage. I'm watching this. So you have your two presenters. One was in New York. The other one was in LA, I believe. Tina Fey and I forget.
Yes.
I apologize for not remembering her name. Amy Poehler, right? And they did this split screen thing. So the stage was kind of decorated the same. Okay, that's fine. But when they would go to the nominees and everything, they were off Zoom calls. And when they would intro at first, everybody was like sitting there awkward. Like it was really bad. And then you would hear, I guess, the assistant directors going, just act natural. Everybody just act like you're hearing that live on it.
Boy.
Like it was just, and it was clunky. It was really clunky. And I'm like, damn, this is the Golden Globes. You mean to tell me you weren't ahead of this thing 7 months ago doing dry runs and rehearse? Maybe they did.
They probably
maybe
did.
they did.
They probably
I thought of you because I'm like, Louie would have probably had this thing dialed in because he's been doing so many of these shows for quite some time now.
Yeah, it's it was a real awakening to recognize how vulnerable you are in the show, in the moment, in the mix of bringing on a presenter or a general manager, a country lead that's got a very important, piece of content to deliver. And you're at the edge of your seat because I can no longer control the minute that her internet goes out or our internet goes out or the storm hits New Jersey where we happen to have a server or something like that. It's like you have so many potential risks here that you really are on the edge of your seat as an event producer, strategist. It's like everything I just worked for the last 6 months to pull this job off comes down to something I have zero control over.
You can't even have a backup generator.
Right.
Like there's no.
If it's done, it's done. However, to your point, here's a good story. If the award show appeared to be clunky, and it didn't come off with the finesse and polish that you'd expect, because that's what the business of that award show is in, to show at a level that's like, inspiring. And, if it had challenges.
Let's put it this way. They were always way overproduced. There were some segments that were like, come on.
Yes.
But now it brought everybody back down to reality in the whole movie making space.
Right.
It brought everybody back down.
It also, if it doesn't come off the way you expect or you plan for it, it gives a little bit of forgiveness or acceptance to, average people that are, working for companies that are in the IT department that are trying their best. And, they're overcoming these obstacles every single time there's another company meeting, and they're doing it on their own without the support of all of that money, the production capabilities, and the talent, So it goes far in saying that even the best have challenges in virtual. And that's probably a good takeaway from if the awards weren't that great. I'm fortunate. I mean, I had moments where, my heart was in my throat. My clients would never know that. They came off of, the events with a post-event survey talking about their love and likes and dislikes for the event. And overwhelmingly, I'm very glad, because there was moments where I was gutted because I was afraid that didn't do exactly what I planned, and it wasn't noticed, and that was the cool part. People didn't recognize all the little things, and that's usually the case, right? You're very critical of your own work, and you've got big microscopes looking at everything, and the minute something's slightly off for you, it doesn't mean that it was off for anybody else at all. And that's what I kept on being reminded of throughout all of these shows, that nobody's going to notice it like I notice it. But the fact that I notice it drives me crazy, and I'm looking to make sure that they're just having the most amazing experience ever. It doesn't matter if it was virtual. It needed to represent a connection. And that's where I think in a lot of respects we were able to do that. I don't know how much the tolerance is for many more moving forward. I know everybody overwhelmingly came back with their post-survey event results saying they can't wait to get back to live. They can't wait to get back to life. So I too am looking forward to that. But in the meanwhile, I want to continue navigating through these learnings. And I'll tell you this, despite doing so many, every single one of them, every single national meeting has presented some unique challenge that I never anticipated the meeting before.
Right.
And even though I learned something in that meeting before, I expected to carry that over to the next one and say, okay, we can't do this because look what happened. That was something that I never had to worry about. Instead, something else was presented. That was brand new. And so you just keep on building your tool chest of like, this is what I have to look out for. This is what can never happen again. And most importantly, if we talk about having content ready on that day, it better be ready on that day, because the minute it's not, it's like a domino effect, right? Everybody else is now backed up waiting for it. And the other part of this is where everybody's got to really understand the value of virtual. All comes back down to how well is your content created. And that's where the likes of you, Frank, and in the world that you have your digs into, video content creation, it's king now. Like it's the number one. It's got to be the way that even as a byproduct after the fact, if we do go back to live, video still has to be such a strong part of the presentation. And if it's not done well, it's noticed.
Yeah.
And that's where the challenge is that it can't just simply be a video. It can't be a PowerPoint with the guy in the corner. It needs to be more. And that's something that I'm looking forward to being creative with and coming up with solutions for presentations that kind of go beyond simply the droning of here's the results, everybody, and here I am in the corner with my PowerPoint large and me small. It needs to be engaging and creative, and that's what I'm most excited about. That's where I think that I came out of this tour exhausted, no question, because it was one week after another, sometimes 2 or 3 events during 1 week.
Yeah, that was a crazy run.
It was a crazy run.
Yeah.
There was monitors everywhere I turned. There was another monitor with another show on it, and you want to make sure that what you're delivering is high quality, high caliber outputs, and recognizing that there is limitations to that. I just want to make sure that I'm constantly evolving that delivery so that it's not ever just a duplication.
I bet you moving forward, if things go back and we go live, there's still going to be some element of virtual involved now moving forward. It has to be. Once it's like it's presented itself into our world, we're not going to just completely abandon that. I strongly believe that it's going to be an element definitely moving forward in everything that we do, for sure.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's actually going to change the structure of the meetings. We would have a tolerance for having our attendees wake up, be at the breakfast room for 7:00 into a meeting by 8:30. And in this case now, we've had to limit our timeline with them to like next to nothing, 90 minutes a day. Because after 2 hours, you're spent.
You're done. Yeah.
You're done, and you don't have the tolerance, the interest, and if you do, you had to have made that engaging. It has to be more than another update from another franchise or a business unit. It had to be something really, really cool in there. And so I think that just like curbside pickup, maybe that's the follow through. It'll always be here. I think there's going to be a lot of virtual components that make their way back into live events.
Well, it's kind of, not to go completely off topic, but it makes me think about the education system with the high schoolers. I have a son that's in high school. He's in school 2 days a week from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. And then races back online at 12:30 till, I don't know, 3-ish. But he's only doing 2 courses as opposed to if he was in school like pre-COVID, just going through all the courses throughout the day consecutively until your semester's done and then whatever. He's doing way better now, although they do miss the social interaction, which is hugely important, especially during the high school years. But I think they're getting more out of being solely focused on 2 courses and being able to absorb all that because it's reflecting in the grades. It really is. Yeah,
this is a chance for education to open up, to look at how they can do things differently. It's way overdue. There's other places in the world that have taken education into different hemispheres.
Yeah.
In the sense of how people are absorbing, how kids are reacting and responding, and this is a very serious but much needed wake up call. And if it meant even to transfer what they were doing before, for how many courses they spread it over, for the length that they tried to teach it, this may be an answer to say, let's look at what this has really done.
I think they got to pull back. I just think, even my kids that are in grade school, I found before, you're going through adding, subtracting, multiplication, then they're on to something else. Like, let them absorb this first. Let them get that so ingrained that, they can answer questions with their eyes closed. But it just seems like everything was like pushed through. Like, we got to move on. We got to move on to the next phase. It's like, slow down.
Yeah.
Let them take it in.
There's a lot to be said. Miller, my youngest, was actually, I didn't really know how school would be absorbed and how online would work. And, Miller's very visual and sees things differently.
Right.
So, yeah, it was kind of I was concerned. However, I'm not somebody that puts a lot of emphasis on marks because I don't have a lot of respect for the school system in the way that it kind of funnels everybody into this big, catch-all.
Especially if you're creative.
Right, especially if you're creative. And so, recognize that there was Miller got caught plagiarizing, and the teacher called Miller out for that. And it was a conversation and discussion, because now this is where I'm interested. Now you're doing something that you're breaking all the rules, and let's talk about why. And so that full conversation around what's this really mean? Like, you're checked out, you're not interested. Like, how can we get you interested? And so there was a couple of moments of shed tears there, and some really hard conversations around, what the future has to offer, and what can we do from the learning perspective on this.
Yeah.
And it gave us a chance to help and to maybe find other solutions there. And we did. And as a result, it went from 36, the mark was 36 to 63, and praise from the teacher and recognition that the effort meant something, and that we were now having a chance to recognize effort. And again, marks to me don't make a difference, but when you see a significant increase like that, that there's a determination, and there was a good learning opportunity for all of us there, that I don't know that, I think, there was a chance to be able to be very clear online and in this learning environment that, Miller was falling behind, and it was recognized because there was the constant effort in that one topic day after day after day.
Right.
And maybe that would have been a longer process had it not been, in the cycle that we are experiencing now. So I think the overhaul is something that, it's a lot of work. I get that.
Yeah.
It's going to take a lot of effort, and, with some very smart people that'll end up creating a way that make this make sense. So I'm excited about what that could offer, our children that are growing up, and for the parents that are putting such an emphasis on what that looks like for their kids.
Yeah.
Different world.
Yeah, and I hope it crosses over not only in the education system, but a lot of things, even in government, even in commerce, even in, you know what I mean? Like, I think the thinkers really need to start, just laying it out there, and some people try and execute some of these things just to, you got to be brave to make those changes. And at first it probably isn't going to be accepted right away, but all new things are always like, what's going on here?
You got to put the brakes on that for a minute.
And, we have to make some bold moves to just better some things, because to be accepting the way things are, it's just, to me, it's not working, man.
It's not working. I think we've had enough of our dad's world. It's time for us to really make whatever version of that we want, move it forward, and let the next generation do something really exciting and unique in the way that they approach things too. I think there's a lot of great learnings that have come out of this. The one thing that I learned is that I need to be stimulated by creativity. Mm-hmm. And I feel like, the only place that I can actually get a jolt of that is, of course, online or on TV and I'm just feeling like I need something live. I need something to be really inspirational creatively to get me, to make me satisfied. And I feel like I'm lacking that. I think maybe that human connection to some creative experience is lacking for me right now. I need to find something. So I'm open to suggestions. If you think there's something really great that you found, even in the online environment, that's the world that I've got to concentrate on now. But I would always, if I found that I was, needing a good boost, I would find the local Cirque du Soleil performance.
Yeah. And
I'd go check out a show.
Yeah.
Or something like that, where there was a live performance art, something that was pushing the boundaries. And for me, Cirque du Soleil did it often. I'd walk out of a show there going, wow, I feel like I had just taken the tin can opener. And
so creative. I remember a long time ago when O was happening in Vegas there, and it was still kind of new. When you go see a show like that and you can't explain it to somebody you're trying to explain it to, tells you something.
Yeah. You're struggling for words.
Well, it's this. You just got to go see it,
because
whatever I'm going to tell you, you can't, because it's unimaginable what they pulled off, especially on that show. I haven't seen all their shows, but that one left a lasting impression. Going, Jesus Christ! I just witnessed that thing,
Something.
that happened that I could have never imagined coming up with.
Something magical. Something magical. That's what I'm in search of. That's right though. That's what for me was the same idea, that every time I saw one of those live performance pieces, it was like I'd walk out and I'd have, pencil to paper, because I'm creating something unique that I want to see in one of my shows, or whatever you can draw your
any kind of performance. When I was younger, I'm a closet drummer. So I would still say I'm at the beginning stages of learning how to drum through my whole life. And I used to go see these, what they would call these drum clinics. So these stick manufacturers or music stores would hire a session guy or somebody that played for Liberty DeVito. He used to play for Billy Joel. He was his drummer. Or I'd go see some local Canadian drummers do these drum clinics. And it did two things. It either made you want to quit, because they would just, it'd be great because they do a little drum solo thing there, Q&A, have somebody come up. It was brilliant. It's brilliant, and you really get to see, like, man, if I could practice my kick pedal foot to do triplets, I'd be the king, And this guy went on to say that Paul DeLong, I'll never forget. He was a drummer for Kim Mitchell. And he's like, I spent an entire summer just on my kick pedal getting these triplets in, and like did nothing else. Like I'd play in bands and stuff, but all my practice time was on his kick. And it would make you go, damn, I'm going to hang it up, or,
I got to be like Paul.
You get motivated, right? You get motivated to create and get inspired to do stuff like that. So I get what you're saying about the Cirque du Soleil thing.
Well, the one thing that happened in the course of like us being locked down and not in here doing podcasts was I celebrated a birthday, and the family got me a subscription to Masterclass.
Nice. I got that too.
Yeah,
for Christmas.
I think actually you might have been the inspiration for that. Yeah, I know Tammy, you might have connected with you on what that looked like, but that I'm looking forward to, because
it's awesome.
Like I think that's time well spent,
Yeah.
And I could find myself, although it would be online, it would still going to be a way to be able to have somebody that's a master.
Yeah.
Showcase how and what and where. That I'm looking forward to. Now it's a matter of carving out the right time for it.
Yeah, I found it. So as soon as I got it, it was like consumption overload for me.
Okay.
Like I was going from making brisket barbecue with Franklin's barbecue to, Sheila E. has a drumming thing, and I was just bouncing everywhere. This girl's doing photography. Like it was, if you saw my, when you open up the app and it's like, you want to continue on this class? Or like it had 15
right
all at once. Now, truth be told, I haven't watched it in a couple of weeks. So, you got to get back on it. But it's so well done. And I mean, geez, any information is good information. So
open the mind. And that takes me back to TikTok again. I feel like I might be a paid endorsed sponsor for TikTok. But what that app has afforded me to do in my life, I mean, I figured out a way. I don't know if I figured out, they figured out me, which is the story of that algorithm and how they actually know what's going to be exciting or entertaining to you. And because of my behavior on there, we talked about that in the Social Dilemma movie review we did, where, of course, the intelligence is so sophisticated that it feeds me stuff where you're so far down the rabbit hole.
Yes.
You just don't want to come out, but I'm fine.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you what, I know how to make an incredible feta pasta, tomato something. I know how to do, this with that curing. And so if you found your way into food TikTok, then you're going to be, and you're a foodie, you're going to be in. But if you're into the business side of TikTok, then all of a sudden you're just getting tons of content that's helping you recognize that, oh, this is valuable. This website I didn't know existed. This is actually going to allow me to write content, for blog posts where I don't really have to write the content. I can have it written by a robot. And, the artificial intelligence is a big piece of that. Anyway, the point is that whatever you're into, they find a way to be able to connect content creators that are masterful at that space to be able to show you what it is. And of course, if the dancing is part of it, that's fun.
Yeah.
And that's your world, that's even better, because that's an easy one. But when you start getting into, peeling the onion and recognizing that I'm into business TikTok, I'm into food TikTok, I'm into social engagement in the sense of, the community activation and all that other stuff. It's all there, man. It's like you get your own personal TV programming, which is pretty cool. But I am looking forward to Masterclass to see if maybe that can spark some new ideas and interest, because I, like many people during all this, am looking for every possible way to be able to come out of the other side with, a bouquet of roses or flowers and happy big smiles on my face.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, I kind of feel like we're I don't know. I think there's going to be another cool push. That's my sensibility right now, is that there's going to be.
Like, what do you mean? What do you mean?
I think in a positive way. After this whole thing, I think there's going to be, you always have your good with the bad, but I think we're headed in a positive direction. I think a lot of people during this time, good or bad, have their comments or beliefs about, how government handled stuff, listen, we can sit there and pick apart everything, but aside from all that, I just think now that I think there's going to be like this, people are going to find their lane and go for it, and there's going to be a good run of that feeling for a while.
Wow, I'm looking forward to that. I mean, there's so much that I really enjoy about what's happening right now. I'm also excited about what's next. Not knowing that entirely, I think, is in itself exciting, and being open to the fact that you just got to keep on keeping on. You got to really put your head up high and drive. So that's where I think, a little creativity, a little time to maybe reset the schedule.
Yeah.
I found that I was so busy for so long there. It was a good 2 months of just pounding it, for all these meetings. And then
last year, this time you were in Costa Rica.
Oh, this is a torture right
now.
Yeah,
that's one of the big things. Like, I find that everybody is thinking about, where am I going to go as soon as this thing is done?
Right. Costa Rica is by far one of our favorite vacation spots. Yeah. And, my goal last year was to find a place, a little shack. It was going to be very modest. The intention was to be modest. I didn't have to be overproduced or too opulent by any stretch. I stayed in some opulent places last year that would blow anybody's mind, but I was looking for something different. I wanted to have a place that I could have for 2 months, and then, come March 1st, 2021, it was going to be, see you later. I'll check back in June or something. Mm-hmm. And, of course, I found a bunch of places, but we can't be there. And so now I know what's going to happen in the next 2 weeks that there's going to be a social media push from my social media feeds reminding me of this great trip that we had last year.
Yeah, memories.
Memories that'll haunt and excite you all in one breath. But I think that's one of those common conversations about what are you going to do as soon as you can.
Well, I look forward to being with the people that I haven't seen in a long time. Maybe you see them, it's, like I said, through social media and stuff, but it's not, being able to hang out and have people in my backyard and have, entertain again and just make new memories, because it's been a long layoff.
It's been a long layoff. That's a great way to look at it. A nice rest, let's call it.
Yeah.
It's long. And we're definitely all up for something else now too. So I'm looking forward to that as well.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I love the fact that we came in today with, nothing really on the agenda other than a chance to reconnect and hopefully at the same time people find that in itself entertaining, because it's somebody else and it's another world and you get a glimpse into ours. So I'm grateful for anybody that's tuned in today. To be able to join us on Staying Alive. Of course, I've been with Frank Russo for the whole session today and look forward to a lot more like this. I think that's kind of our goal, to continue moving down that road, having some casual conversations about things that are of interest and can hopefully make people excited, happy, and somewhat connected to our world.
Yeah, it definitely keeps, I know for me, doing this keeps me going, and we've talked about it during the project, I kind of miss coming in and having our rap sessions.
Yes.
And it's good to get those back. Hopefully we can keep them going and, get more guests in here. But I like doing this. I like just talking about nothing and just recapping and seeing what interests you over the last little while. So these are really cool.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat, Frank. And if you happen to subscribe to that notion, then do exactly that. Subscribe, like, push the button, do all the things you're supposed to do, and podcasts and social media, and tell some friends. And let's get back together for the next episode.
Yeah, give us some comments, too. If there's anything that you want to see us talk about or bring people in or focus on any kind of subject, we'll definitely take those comments into consideration and see if we can wrap something around that.
I love that. I've got a great business idea we can jump into next time that I'm really looking forward to seeing if we can pull together. Maybe it can be a collaborative effort from our online connections here.
Oh, that would be cool. We could do a case study and do vlogs and everything like that.
Love it. Let's do it.
See it right from the ground up.
Yeah, let's see what happens.
And get the online community to invest.
I like the way this is going, Frank. You got it all settled down, but I love it. Anyway, thanks for joining us, everybody. Have a great day, and we'll see you on the next episode of Staying Alive with Louie J.